Okay. So I will strike it. And then promise.
Can we strike ARC allocations, please?
Yeah. Oh shoot. Okay. And then Jenny.
Hi, can I strike capital contingency? And then can I also add into new business, just like an amendment to the FICOM guidelines? All I'm doing is like updating a link.
Okay. Is that an action item or consent item?
I think it needs a vote.
Okay. Okay, and then I'm also gonna change my report back to purple. Any more amendments? Okay, Breeze, I think you're good to go.
Oh, sorry, could I also, so sorry, I'm driving. Could I also change my officer report to purple?
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I got it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Cass. So with that, can I have a motion, please?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Who was that? Sorry.
I think it was Momina.
Momina. Okay, awesome. Promise motions, Momina seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Wait. Did someone drop off? We meet quorum at 10, right, Josh?
We do. We had quorum, but someone did leave.
Okay. So then what would
We
we
just joined, I think. So I
Okay.
think we're okay.
Okay, awesome. Jane, can you just raise your hand? LOL. Perfect. Okay. And with a vote of 10 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the agenda for this week is approved. Great. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes from the April 12th meeting.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Promise motions, Emily seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Great. And by a vote of 10 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the minutes are approved for last week. Great. Moving on to public comment. Public comment is a time for any member of the public who would wish to speak to council to have their voices be heard. Remember that if you are in the public, please raise your hand and we will promote you. Remember to use gender inclusive language, use respectful language. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability. And with that, we can go ahead and open up public comment at 7:06 p.m. Great. Has the individual been promoted?
I just promoted them.
Awesome.
It's
Clara?
Clara.
Awesome. Clara, whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So hello, everyone. My name is Clara. I'm the newly elected chapter chair of CalPERS students at UCLA. And just a little bit about me, I'm a second-year sociology major, and I care a lot about fighting social injustices, including environmental issues. I currently run CalPERS Beyond Plastics campaign. You might remember me from working on the single-use plastics resolution during week 1. So thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it. And if you hadn't heard yet, the Board of Supervisors did pass the ordinance. So thank you so much for your contribution to that. We really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm CalPERS new chapter chair going into next year. And I really wanted to do that to make the most impact as I possibly could. I really believe in the potential of our chapter to continue to make a difference for the public interest, like with our recent plastics win that you guys all helped out with. So I really wanted to lead our organization in doing that. I also wanted to mention that we're working to pass a bill called AB 2624 next Tuesday on the 26th, and that would require community colleges, Cal State universities, and request the UCs to present estimate costs of course materials on online course schedules so that students can know the cost of their textbooks and other additional fees for their classes before enrolling. And this will help enable students to know the overall cost of their classes so that they can plan their classes accordingly and get affordable materials before the first day of class. And if you're a transfer student or you know any transfer students who would be interested, your voice will have a really big impact on the bill's decisions. And so if you're interested in voicing support, I'm going to put a Google form into the chat. And I'd appreciate it if you could fill that out. Our campaign coordinator for the textbook campaign, Rada, will get in touch with you right away about that. So thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you so much, Clara. We also look forward to working with you. Okay, is there any other member who would like to speak? I don't see any hands raised. So with that, I will close public comment at 7:09 p.m. Great, moving on to funding. Jenny, for contingency programming.
Hi guys. Yes, so this is the link for this week's funds for these allocations. This week we're allocating $17,929.41 to 32 non-USAC entities. Unfortunately, we had to cut allocations by 20% this week, simply due to limited funding.
Awesome, thank you so much, Jenny. Are there any questions? If not, can I get a motion?
I move to approve $17,929.41 to 32 non-USAC entities.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Emily motions, Angie seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Great, and by a vote of 10 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and contingency programming is approved. SFS, Momina?
Hi everyone. So this week, SFS is allocating $7,200.62 to seven non-CSC organizations, and I'll also put that in the chat.
Great, are there any questions? If not, thank you so much, Momina. Moving on to SWC, Tay. Oh, I don't think she's here actually. Okay, the next one is BAG. Sarah? Or she's also not here. Okay, ASRF, Angie?
Hi, so this past week we allocated $2,000 to one non-USAC entity.
Okay, are there any questions? If not, TGMF?
For TGMF, we allocated $7,391.40 to seven non-USAC entities.
Awesome, thank you, Ange. Are there any questions? If not, TGIF, Jane?
Sorry, I meant to strike it.
What about OSAC? Or is Hannah here? Sorry. Or are you?
Yeah, that's
Just promoted her.
Okay, awesome.
Hello, everyone. I am,
And we'll actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm going to disconnect my AirPods because I do not trust them to carry me through this presentation. They tend to disconnect a lot. So I am here to present to y'all the allocations for approval, as well as just a couple minor changes to the space contract for the next couple of years. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. That is all right. And talk y'all through this. I'll be pretty brief and I'll pause for questions at the end, but this is the allocation. Sorry that it's kind of a lot going on. I'll go through it briefly, room by room, saving for the USAC rooms because those are all staying the same. But I feel really glad that I was able to continue to allocate space to every student organization who had space in the last allocation and followed through on the application process. And then I was able to, I only moved one organization from their current office space and was able to award a good number of other organizations who have not had space before this allocation, some space. So to start off with room 136, Queer Alliance is staying where they are and DSU is going to be added in. I allocated 146 to have MSA and SJP together. I'm also going to be talking in just the acronyms because it'll just be so much faster. So anyone can pause for questions or ask for questions, any questions they have. Then we have a series of USAC rooms. Those are all staying the same. In 312, I moved SEEK into this room and added the International Collegiate Health Initiative Volunteer Association. So these are both new people to this room. And then we have more USAC rooms. And then to 322, African Student Union is going to be keeping that room. To 324, City Lab and LCCM are going to be keeping that room, and PCMC are being added in, as well as ASA. And then CSC is keeping all of their office space. In 411, we have Circle K, Model UN, ASA and E3 all staying in that room, and FAST and FPS are going to be added into that room with them. In 412, Samahong and APC are going to be added into that room and are staying in that room, and Ideas is going to be added in. In 413, ACA is going to keep their office and PISA is going to be added in with them. ACA was also allocated a locker, which I'll get into in a minute, to kind of accommodate their items since they were in that office by themselves in the previous allocation. In 414, Mecha is going to be staying in there. In 419 is staying entirely the same with ACA, CSSA, VSU, VCH, and PSA. 519 will be staying the same. And 519, along with PAC and Hooligan, who were previously allocated the space, DKA is going to be added in with them. So those are all of the offices. I'll pause for questions at the very end because lockers and mailboxes will be pretty brief. But with lockers, everyone who reapplied was able to keep their locker, and I was able to give a bunch of new organizations their locker space, which is really exciting. And a good number of these organizations, such as from the first three lockers, we're in consulting, APA, healthcare, GlobeMed, and a bunch of other organizations do not also have office space. So I'm happy that I was able to accommodate some more organizations. And then lastly, with the mailboxes. So a lot of people, including all of you council members here tonight, are actually, your mailbox has been moved from the third floor to the first floor to accommodate a replacement of the third floor mailbox space. And so there's a lot of vacancies in the first floor just because I do not have jurisdiction over a good number of the mailboxes on the third floor because they're not undergraduate sole registered orgs. So I'll be working with Jessica to help move them. And I'm also going to be reaching out to a lot of the organizations who just had mailbox space, just because this was not a record. I created this record on my own. This was not something that existed before. So I don't believe that organizations who just had mailbox space had sufficient time to apply. So I'll be giving those organizations another chance either this quarter, but more likely in fall, the next OSAC chair will give people who want to apply for just mailbox space the opportunity to do so. A lot of these, especially on the third floor, the organizations are, I think, are outdated and might not be sole registered organizations anymore. So that's why I'm comfortable kind of doing that a little bit later as well. We have a lot more mailbox space than we do office space and locker space, and way less demand. So these are the allocations. I'm going to stop for a minute and see if anyone has any questions. And maybe I saw Jessica, you might want to talk people through something, and I'll pause on this before going through the contract. And if anyone has any questions about like my process or the process going forward, you can feel free to ask those as well.
Are there any questions?
My only question is, how do I get the mail key? Because I know there's mail.
Yeah. I think that's a question that most people have. I got that question in my inbox today. You can go to the A-level student information window in Ackerman and ask, and they should be able to help you out. I know since y'all currently have a mailbox on the third floor, it might not be easy to open, which is my warning. But I would just then follow up the students at the front desk and work with, Yamali and Jessica to see if they can help you out. And I do hope that they can. But yeah, you'll always be able to get that key from the A-level information desk.
Okay. Are there any other questions? If not, I think this needs a motion, right? Or is it just approval, Josh?
No, it actually needs a vote.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do need to officially vote this in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I was going to just move to turn this into an action item.
Yes. So we'll need to vote on that first, and then we can move it to an actual vote.
Okay. So promise motion. Can I get a second?
A second.
Promise motion. Emily seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. We're missing one more hand. Great. And by a vote of 10 to 0 to 0, the motion passes. And this has become what was it? Sorry, I'm blanking right now.
Action.
An action item. Correct. Okay. And now can I get a approval or a motion for the OSAC allocations?
I move to approve the OSAC space allocations for the 2022 to 2024 years.
Great. Can I get a second?
I second.
Promise motions, moment of seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. And we're missing one more hand. Okay. By a vote of 10 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and OSAC allocations are approved. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Oh, so sorry. Thank you for this. Can I quickly also present the contract amendments that I'm just going to be making? It'll be super quick. And this is, I think, is just approval, right, Jessica? Or consent, sorry. I'm not super
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, this can be a consent item because it's more just an agreement between the organizations and OSAC. So that's fine.
Great. Okay. Yes, you can go ahead and have the floor, Hannah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the time that y'all giving me tonight. So this is pretty brief. It's in this section, it's really just the update of the sole registration requirements that I presented to y'all before we sent out the application. So that's new to the contract, but not new to y'all. And most of this is kept the same. I think it's, I think I let a lot go this year just because I didn't expect anyone to be super familiar. So I'm definitely going to be taking steps this year to prevent that from happening again. So the first change is in the shared office space section. I'm going to be requiring that all organizations complete and post a shared office space agreement. And that will be done with the OSAC chairperson and a representative from each organization every year to help kind of foster a relationship between the organizations in the office. And it's going to be basically like a roommate agreement where we'll say, okay, whose stuff goes where, who are we giving office access to, how do we make the schedule each quarter. The next change is in the locker space section. In the past, we've had a lot of issues with organizations storing their stuff in their locker room, but not in their respective lockers. So just adding something that says, if it's found that you're storing items outside of your locker, the OSAC chairperson will send your organization an email and they'll send you a warning. And if the items are still there within 2 to 3 weeks, they will be unfortunately thrown away. These items on the floor make the locker room inaccessible, both just to move around in and to access some of the other lockers. So it's really important that, organizations are aware that they under no circumstances can do that. Finally, there's a lot of medical organizations, student organizations, health organizations who store stuff in the locker room. And so there have been, it's been found in past cleanings that some hazardous medical items or materials have been stored in the office that are dangerous, whether they're sharp or stored incorrectly. So I added this in just to kind of make it very clear, even though I think it kind of suits into space misuse with storing hazardous material in general. But that just spelling that out very clearly. And then lastly, under audit provisions, just again, making sure that the office space agreement is posted in all of the shared office along with the weekly schedule. And I believe that is everything aside from like date changes and stuff like that. So thanks y'all. And if anyone has any questions, you can, feel free to ask them.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Does anyone have any questions? If not, great. Thank you, Hannah, for everything that you worked on and everything that you presented to us tonight. With that, we'll move on to special presentations. Angie?
Hi, I believe Liz is in the attendees.
Yep, I can promote her right now.
As well as Monica and Taylor, please. Thank you so much.
No problem. All of them should be, they're all in right now.
Hello. Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Liz. I use she, they pronouns. I'm the Assistant Director for the LGBTQ CRC community. Thank you for having our fabulous assessment and engagement team lead a presentation for you all. And so I will pass the mic to Taylor and Monica.
I'm gonna just share my screen really quick. It's all right. Can y'all see that? Any thumbs up? Okay, perfect. So, hello everyone. My name is Monica.
Hello, my name's Taylor. I use she, her pronouns.
And we're going to be presenting about the QT BIPOC Student Experience Project, the second iteration from 2021 to 2022. So just to start off, just want to do a quick land acknowledgement. As part of UCLA, a land-grant institution, the LGBTQ Campus Resource Center acknowledges the Tongva and Serrano people as the traditional caretakers of this land. We pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives and relations, past, present, and emerging. And if we could just take a quick moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Alrighty, so now we will go into introductions. Hello again, everyone. My name's Taylor. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a third-year statistics major and an LGBTQ studies minor. Some things about my positionality. I'm a Black queer cis woman, and just for alternative text purposes, in the photo, I have dark brown braids with some sunlight coming in.
Thank you, Taylor. My name is Monica. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a fourth-year neuroscience major and Spanish minor. I identify as half Thai, half white. I'm a lesbian. That's a first-gen college student. In the picture, I'm standing in Long Beach with a tote bag and some rock and bangs.
Awesome, thank you. And giving credit where credit's due, our research is sponsored and supported by UCLA's Bruin Resource Center, the Community Programs Office, also known as CPO, UCLA's Graduate Student Center, and our very own LGBTQ Campus Resource Center.
And we quickly want to acknowledge all these people on the list, but especially Vanessa Wari, who was the co-owner and former assessment engagement intern who started this project, as well as Smriti Nagarajan, who was our previous assessment engagement intern and passed this project on to Taylor and I.
And first off, we want to acknowledge a literature review that was done by our other intern, Bri, who is not present today. But this really helped us create our findings and organize them as well. And the reason why we really heavily focused on this study is because other studies focus almost exclusively just on white LGBTQ plus college students. And again, there has been extensive research done on cisgender, heterosexual, and college students of color. But the gaps in literature say that QT BIPOC college students and their unique needs haven't been as captured as they should have been.
So yes, we wanted to kind of address these gaps in literature that are existing in past research. And so with that in mind, our study basically wanted to answer two general questions, and that included, what are the unique needs of LGBTQ students of color at UCLA? And how do the many intersecting identities of LGBTQ students at UCLA impact the unique needs of the population? So basically, the study was aimed to answer these questions, but also we made sure to use like a peer-driven approach when it came to conducting these interviews. So Taylor and I, as well as Smriti, held these one-on-one interviews with students as well as focus groups. And as students as well who are part of the QT BIPOC demographic, like we are just getting to talk with our peers and facilitate like a safe space for participants to share their stories. And we kind of conduct a systematic analysis of the needs of QT BIPOC students to better enhance the services that are being made available through our resource center here at the LGBTQ Campus Resource Center, as well as our campus partners, which we previously mentioned. And like we kind of want to learn what's safe and affirming in terms of like campus community spaces and services that are being accessed by this population.
So moving along, going into the community cultural wealth as a framework, some quick facts here is that students of color often struggle while navigating campus environments due to deficits in our institutions instead of the issues in the students. And this is reflective of our model that we use, which is an asset-based approach model, not a deficit-based approach. And all cultural wealth as held by students of color, women and non-binary folk, people of low socioeconomic status, LGBTQ plus students, and other intersectional identities is considered legitimate. And QT BIPOC students that were interviewed for the study are considered the experts of their own experience.
Going into how we were able to recruit participants, basically we had an interest form, we reached out to students, and we conducted interviews and focus groups that kind of centered around semi-structured questions. about their experiences here at UCLA. And so with the first iteration that occurred, we were able, well, there was 22 students interviewed, but with the second iteration, which Taylor and I were a part of, we were able to interview 29 students. So there was an increase in participants. And so we were able to do 23 individual interviews and 2 focus groups, which was amazing. And of course, we always made sure to compensate students via Bruin card for their time and stories that they shared.
Thank you. So now our next section centers around participant demographics for this previous iteration. And I just wanted to note that self-identification was a really important part in this study. All students self-identified with their gender, sexuality, race, and ethnicity. And again, just kind of going back to the part about the community cultural wealth model, about them being the experts of their own experience. You may not see this on some platforms like the census where they have pre-pick categories. So that aspect was really important for us as well. So moving right along, our first demographic was student type. And compared to the first research study, there has been a pretty noticeable jump in graduate student representation, which is good because a lot of studies aren't inclusive of that student type. And transfer student representation is very important, and the rate stayed about the same from the first round of interviews. And lastly, undergrads do remain the majority of our study. So as you can see there, a total of 29 participants made up of graduates, undergraduates, and transfer students. Next is race and ethnicity. And the most notable thing is that from the first iteration, there was only 1 Black student. But in this iteration, we've gone from 1 to 9 Black students, which is important because the study is called QD BIPOC study, B standing for Black, which is a very important demographic in that. And we also saw a slight increase in Indigenous students, but we still need more students from this demographic to capture their experiences as a whole. Moving on to gender identity, again, participants did self-identify how they identify gender-wise. And this iteration, the most identified category was non-binary students. During the first iteration, there are only 2 non-binary students, but this time we had 10, so that is great for non-binary representation, followed by cisgender women as the second category. Moving on to sexuality, there's been a great increase in a representation of pansexual and queer identities. And again, the bisexual population stayed about the same. And this iteration, queer, was also a new category that was brought in as well for those that either still figuring these out or prefer to use an umbrella term. And lastly, this is a completely new category that we included this year. It is disability status. And again, participants could self-identify because, as we know, not all disabilities are visible. And yeah, this is a new category. A little under half identified as having a disability, while the latter half identified as not having a disability. We always ask for accommodations before scheduling the interview and if any needs are met. And all of these interviews and focus groups were done over Zoom, which does promote accessibility as well. Moving along, Monica will now go into the themes that were found during this study.
Thank you, Taylor. So yeah, analyzing the different stories and experiences that students brought up, we of course find common themes that center around like how students navigate, finding safety here at UCLA, finding community, academics. So we'll be getting into that. So one of the first themes we kind of came upon in the different interviews and focus groups was levels of outness as well as moving home. So we have a quote from a student that says, "I didn't want to move back home because my mom doesn't know. And I'm living at home and it's fine right now, but it's definitely conflicting living here. It makes me question myself a lot. So it's not that it's unsafe, but it's uncomfortable at the minimum." And so with the onset of COVID, a lot of people, lost their housing or like had to move back home. And so that kind of like shifted a lot of students into environments that maybe they're not out in yet, or like maybe they're not as comfortable or like able to express their gender or like sexuality in the ways that they want to comfortably. And so like this definitely put like a strain on students during quarantine. So yeah, it's not always a safe space, being home for QT BIPOC students, and that is something to kind of like keep in mind in reflecting on the year online. And so like that kind of also included like those who present in a gender non-conforming manner, and like those who use alternative pronoun sets, and even like have a different name than that of their birth name. So so there's some things to note. Another one is increased awareness of pronouns. So we have a quote here that says, I guess small things, I guess would just be like Zoom etiquette, if you call it that, just putting pronouns in the name thing, just because I don't feel, sometimes other people forget, or it's kind of like, oh, I don't feel comfortable doing that, which is cool too. I get it. Some people don't feel like putting themselves out there like that, but I kind of feel like whichever ones you're most comfortable using might just be a good practice to put them there. So Zoom did allow for students to often like rename themselves or put their pronouns like in their little Zoom box, as like Taylor and I also have like our pronouns in our Zoom box. And like, again, depending on the student and their comfortability of like how out they want to be in like certain groups of people, like they have the ability to share that or not, versus like in a classroom setting, it's like it's a little harder to kind of bring that up to the table, you know, if unless like you're just declaring it out in the open, like these are my pronouns. So the virtual setting definitely enabled students to like have more freedom in their expression in that way, and so a lot of students did note that. And yeah. The next one entailed community building in the pandemic, which a lot of people did express difficulty about, as is like a very isolating time for many. So the student quote says, I haven't really found any sort of community, mostly because it's virtual. I've met people here and there, but as I said, here and there isn't really the same as community. It's some acquaintances, too detached. So the pandemic definitely made it difficult for students to, you know, reach out and connect with other people, especially QT BIPOC students who, you know, oftentimes find community with other QT BIPOC students. And so like when it came to like the classroom setting, it's a little bit difficult to like reach out, because it's like you just log on, stay in class, log back out. Even like club activities that occurred on Zoom, like a lot of people did face like Zoom fatigue and like multiple hours on the computer. So it's like they didn't really want to like they couldn't really push themselves to like log on for another hour to like stay for certain programming and things. So like those were things that were noted by students. Sorry. And then yeah, go ahead, Taylor.
Another thing we found was greater accessibility in academics. As we know, our Monica previously mentioned, Zoom is kind of like a double-edged sword, greater accessibility, but Zoom fatigue is also real. As we see in this quote, prior to online school, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie, definitely rough, just because, I don't know, you have to do all this at LA and at UCLA, and it becomes hard to manage your time. Especially your first year at UCLA, it can just be draining simply to just exist. And winter quarter is never a great quarter. That was the last quarter we had sort of in person, and going online. It's definitely been an improvement just because all the resources are there. You have access to online recordings that you can refer back to all the information, and you can take notes on your computer. And I've been better about not falling asleep in classes, because once again, it's just me at home. So it's just like I'm not staying up crazy late. I'm not going to a whole bunch of parties and that stuff. So I definitely perform better academically online and in person. And again, this is the positive of having Zoom access online to classes. Being able to go back to online recordings of class and take notes at your own pace is something that comes with online Zoom school, as well as the negatives, which we'll get into soon.
And so, yeah, going into kind of like the negatives of like the Zoom environment is like extended computer use when it comes to academics. So one student says, I think my class, like the classroom itself, is sort of similar. I like it more just because I have trouble following along during long live lectures. And so having it recorded is very helpful, which wasn't the case during the regular school year. Very few teachers record their lectures, and if they did record it, it was just sounds. And so it was hard to follow visually when you just have the sounds. And so I think the recordings are very helpful. And actually, it's been, so they follow along on like a 20-page book on screen. I don't know, reading on a screen is very difficult for my eyes, especially when I'm reading like 12 hours a day. So that's been hard. And when the Wi-Fi situation is really difficult as well, yeah, then not being able to sit some, I think being in a library is very helpful as well with studying, and not being able to do that sucked. So we kind of again see like parallels in how students are really happy about the accessibility that came with having school online. And so like, a lot of professors had made accommodations by, recording their lectures and making them asynchronous, making the lecture material accessible. And so that kind of like allowed students to not have to move their schedules around too much, and like being able to still stay on top of academic content at their own pace, which is really helpful. And again, we do note though that like, and I think we all know from like personal experience that like sitting on the computer for multiple hours a day is actually more draining than you would think. And so like that kind of like, again, it's like, oh, things are more accessible, but it's like at the same time, it's like you kind of don't have the energy or like the stamina to keep going, because it's like, oh, my eyes are strained. I've been sitting here for hours, and like you just need a break. So again, those were definitely experiences that were noted from students.
So next we'll be going into some intersections about race, ethnicity, citizen status, etc. And one example here is the intersection of citizenship status and academics. This quote says, especially with the tumultuous year we had and the tumultuous couple of years with all the crazy insulting laws, right? And during also COVID, truly understanding some people don't have the same luxuries as others. For example, this person was working 50 hours a week with 5 classes, and that was one of their worst quarters, but they loved it. In a weird sense, something that affected them was their DACA status, and knowing that something might be able to pass or a judge is going to overrule some nonsense that was passed and things like that. And I was able to talk to a professor and express my concerns, and they understood, because it really does mean life or death. Not to be dramatic, but it really does mean that to me. So here we have an example of an undocumented Cutie BIPOC student that has mitigated several challenges, such as school, working full-time, 50 hours a week specifically with 5 classes, navigating a political climate that fosters a lack of a sense of belonging due to their status, etc. And these are very real issues that students are dealing with, both during the pandemic, but especially now as well. And another example is hyper-surveillance of Black students in academics. This quote reads, before thesis and medical curriculum is challenging, but I enjoyed it. For context, this person was a medical student. I think for me, I found it necessary to have it more interactive, hands-on sessions, and the format of like going from different places with no lab. We would like to go to one place for lab and go to a patient center, slim center for like simulations, and then lecture. I liked the day, and it was really kind of multimodal teaching. And I think for most people, it's helpful just as far as motivation and interest in competition. And so because we're virtual, I don't like it as much. I don't recommend. I think that Zoom fatigue or just the cameras are on you all the time. And I think for Black people, and for me in particular, there's just this extra level of surveillance and suspicion that comes with the testing, and the 100% the camera's on and nothing on your desk, and where I felt like it was as if I were in person, and it's just a bit more intense. So as you can tell here, Black students also facing surveillance issues because of their identity, both in the real world, but even behind the screen, which just shows how the reality of being a Cutie BIPOC student, especially navigating a pandemic as well. And lastly, on our last example, a general theme of the campus climate, both online and in person, was very major and heavily mentioned. This person said that you have to navigate the space, not only as an incoming student, but as a Black student, and then as a Black woman, and then as a Black bisexual woman. And sometimes it's difficult because misogyny is alive and well. Misogyny or homophobia or transphobia. And kind of figuring out like, okay, within the Black community, where do I feel safe and where can I be accepted and welcome? So this just highlights the challenges that on navigating campus or on an online space as a Cutie BIPOC person has to deal with. Identities are intersectional and they overlap, but sometimes within each community of the respective identity, it may create issues, and that person has to almost, in a sense, pick apart their layers and see what spaces are safe for them that may be community spaces, but not necessarily safe spaces for their identity.
Okay, And the last quote that kind of deals with campus climate, a student brought up that I don't want to use any of the resources that we're entitled to use as students at the university because that interrogation is so humiliating. That incessant questioning and having to prove who you are and then explain to some random stranger your entire gender and sexual identity because you need to in order to check out, for instance, a library book. That happens so many times that at one point you just give up. It's not worth it. I don't need to deal with that. And so this student in particular is a trans student, and oftentimes like trans students can be gender non-conforming. They may not have the same name as that's on their ID, or like they may have like old ID pictures that don't match how they express currently. And so like when students often have to go through like these checks to like use certain resources, like it becomes something that like you don't want to go through the process of going through because you may be like pulled aside and like questioned, and it's just like having to fight for like just to be able to kind of defend your identity. Definitely over time, like it becomes so tiring for QT BIPOC folk, and so like that kind of bars them from using resources. And like that is something that we wanted to know, that like we want to make resources accessible for all students, especially QT BIPOC students, especially trans students who may face barriers when it comes to being able to access these resources. So just something really important to note.
And lastly, going into our final section, we have some recommendations for the USAC board based off of our research findings.
Okay. So the first recommendation is increased visibility of QT BIPOC students on campus and in like a variety of roles, like student staff roles. And so we have the first quote that says, "So as an instructor, I tell my students, this is the closest all gender restroom, right? And then I tell the students, if it takes you a little longer to get back because you just had to walk 3 miles to the closest bathroom and get yourself back, that's fine. So I just tell my trans students to let me know. But I think the question would be, how do you even get to that consciousness into the mind of a cis professor who has no idea what you're talking about?" So the first quote kind of goes into like the intentionality in providing resources and also like the education around correct pronoun usage, creating a respectful classroom for all individuals, awareness of issues that gender non-conforming, trans, and non-binary students face that cisgender students do not have to even think about. And then our second quote says, "I wasn't comfortable with my identities for a really long time. I didn't seek it out. I didn't want to identify myself in that way because if I did, people would start seeing me differently, or it would entail that I would have to come out." Our RA he was gay, and he was super about making sure that the space was safe for queer people. So in the second quote, it kind of touches on like the presence of queer and trans staff that can help students who are not comfortable, like being in community and feeling validated and getting connected to resources on campus. So it's like having someone there who like shares those identities or has a better understanding of it will allow like QT BIPOC students to like have better access, or even like are more like likely to utilize these resources. And so it definitely helps to have like in these like more higher up roles of like a facilitator, of TAs, of again RAs, to have QT BIPOC students be a part of it because it brings greater comfort and safety to QT BIPOC students as well.
So our next recommendation is to address concerns of anti-Blackness through collective and extensive implicit bias training. This quote reads, "I've never actually experienced a more violent place. I know that's really sad to say, but I remember having this moment where I wouldn't know if it's just medical school or not, but this moment where I was having some difficulty and I'm really feeling like I am Black. Oh, I know I'm Black. But it's always been a positive thing. It's always been, oh, that's awesome. And I felt for the first time in academia like it was a bad thing in the real world. It's a bad thing. But it's always been, yeah, I just never had kind of experienced it ever. And I'm like, what the hell? I guess I just been really lucky to have a lot of mentors and great people along the way and support and great friends getting through college, like excel in college. But there's just so many things where I felt I was not wanted. So again, this is a real world experience of a Black graduate student, and keeping in mind that anti-Blackness is prevalent in many spaces, especially at a PWI and different institutions like here. And just keep in mind that addressing these concerns through different mediums does have an impact, and that the students will see that impact as well. So another recommendation we have is to create a more respectful and inclusive environment for transgender, gender nonconforming, and non-binary students. For example, this quote is, "My immediate response is, I don't feel safe anywhere, so the campus is not any different. I think I've kind of accepted that safety is not something I'll experience, at least to the full extent of this term." So there's different ways to create safety, and really finding those mediums and different ways to do so is something that is really important, especially to those in power, such as the USAC board. And keep in mind that safety, it means emotional safety, mental safety, etc. An example of this would be increased education, hiring trans people of color on the staff team, and keeping awareness of trans issues alive on campus, pronoun usage, etc.
And so another recommendation would be increase opportunities for QT BIPOC students to meet in and out of the classroom. So a student brought up how they said, honestly, I feel kind of disconnected, especially because of the pandemic. It's just really hard to meet people, and there are different meetings that I've tried to go to. I think the Trans Up meetings, but they're always at the time of class for me. And it's been kind of hard to meet people, meet QT BIPOC people. And luckily there are quite a few QT BIPOC people in my program, but I still don't feel like I have a community here at UCLA. So definitely during the pandemic, well, I mean, we're still in the pandemic, definitely during quarantine and like the year online that people have had, that we have had, it was a lot of disconnect, and QT BIPOC students especially really had a hard time meeting people and like forming community with their peers. And also like a lot of student organizations were also kind of like not as active during that time. So it definitely did make it hard for community building. But this one, you know, to kind of like cater to this recommendation, students kind of want to see like variability of time or scheduling of certain groups. And so like you can maybe survey or poll students who are interested in joining certain student groups like outside of academic spaces, and ask them like, oh, what are your availabilities, before kind of like settling on certain meeting times. So it kind of gives students a little bit more of like power in getting to pick the times of things so that they can join in community with others. Another recommendation would be increase visible markers on campus to designate safe spaces for QT BIPOC students. A student said, it helps to see rainbow stickers in people's classrooms and certain pins. If I went to the Ash Center, the hospital on campus, and I go and see the doctors with the little rainbow pins with the U on it, that really helps me to feel safe, accepted, and included. So oftentimes for QT BIPOC students, it's like when you're navigating different spaces, it's like, it's not always clear like people's intentions or like people's thoughts on certain things, especially like your own identities. So that's why like QT BIPOC oftentimes like have to navigate with like this level of uncertainty when it comes to their safety. And so like when there are like explicit declarations of like, oh, this is a safe space, like with signs, or like teachers in front of the class being like, oh, this is a safe space, like feel free to come to me, like I'm here as like a staff member to support you. That kind of just helps to ease like the uncertainty and like allow students to feel safer, you know, going about their day as a student here at UCLA.
And lastly, our last recommendation is to have increased education and awareness training for faculty. This quote reads, "It's how you deal with the fact that a professor just outed you to a class of 200 people. How do you deal with that? I've had that happen to me. I've been introduced with the wrong pronouns to a whole class. How do you deal with that?" That would be enough to send someone bags packed, like, I'm not doing this anymore because it's too much. What would it look like to be a professor to actually be able to implement readings that they can see themselves in, right? Ideas that they can see themselves in exploring and that are relevant to their lives. We don't have that. So the student is just expressing frustrations with their identity and how their professor has outed them in a space where they did not feel comfortable. And these trainings could really have an impact because it lets, first of all, it brings in information that faculty and even staff may have not had before, and also reiterates for them to keep an open mindset and that their students and even fellow staff members and faculty have had different experiences with identity, and gets everyone on the same page in a sense, so that there's some sort of uniformity and general recognition for QT BIPOC students, which is very important.
Right. So that was our last recommendation. Thank y'all for listening, and I think we ended before, so I don't know if like anyone has any questions or anything, but we'd be really happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this presentation. It was really informative and I learned a lot. Do any council members have any questions or any comments, concerns? I guess okay, pass them.
Can you guys hear me? Adjust my mic a little bit. Is this better? Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for presenting. I actually thought that it was really nice of you guys to go into a really in-depth methodology as well as describing the model of your study. I actually thought it was really well done, science as well as service. So, props to that. And yeah, thanks for presenting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I guess I did have one. So how can we as a council support y'all's efforts? Yeah.
I will say, I mean, I know a lot of y'all have also been like pushing for shoot, what is it called? Like better accessibility and like more allowing for more, what is it, like virtual, like Zoom to continue, like hybrid, there you go, hybrid options. I know y'all have been like pushing for hybrid options, and I want to say like that's like one thing, like especially that we've seen from like students mentioning how like academic material had become like so much more accessible for them, and like they were able to perform better academically because like they're able to go back to it and like always have it there. And so like the fact that y'all, I know, like teamed up with DSU to like really push for having professors be able to provide hybrid options for students, that is definitely one thing that like I think is really crucial to student success, at least like academically.
Thank you for that. We appreciate all the work that y'all are doing. And yes, like if any of you have anything else to add or would like to reach out to us, please do not hesitate to do so. Oh, Liz, sorry.
You're good. Thank you. I just want to thank you all for having us. Monica, Taylor, and Bri have put an extensive time of like care and love, and also, may have also related to some of the student experiences that they also had to digest and also make meaning of. So thank you all for having us. And I will also highlight that the SWC grant has supports efforts like the QT BIPOC Student Experiences Project. And this is one of the many examples of the projects and efforts that we want to continue to advocate and support through the LGBTQ CRC. And we also, look forward to continuing to partner to support and uplift our QT BIPOC brilliant students. And so thank you all so much for having us. And thank you, Taylor and Monica, for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great. So that ends our special presentation part, and y'all can stick around if you want, but I understand that you probably all have other things to do, so feel free to log off. Thank you so much. And with that, we will move. Oh, bye.
Oh, sorry. Bye. Have a good night.
Good night. With that, we will move straight into officer reports. So I'll go first. For my office, we had our Future Student Leaders of Color conference this past week. It was really nice, and we were able to get out a lot of amazing speakers. I want to especially thank Pasa, Tay, and Haley for logging on and also being part of our panel, which was very cute. So thank you, all three of y'all. In the COVID response and recovery task force meetings and case management meetings, there's been discussion about returning the mask mandate. Cases are on the rise, and it's estimated that probably, you know, because of like Coachella this past weekend or other festivals that are ongoing, there might be a rise in more cases. So right now there's a lot of discussion around how students can make sure that they're masking indoors. It'll only be strongly recommended at this moment. However, if cases do continue to rise, the mask mandate might be a discussion item of which that might return. But yes, so that's a conversation that's going on there. And my office will be partnering with Academic Senate to make sure that students are well informed through our Instagram, and we'll be posting infographics later this week. So yeah, I also had a meeting with the UCOP and like the Council of Presidents, and we discussed the governor's proposed budget and CSM and UC climate and sustainability goals, as well as mentorship standards for both graduates and undergraduates. I think like key takeaways were that the President Drake said that he understood that students are concerned about how student is going to be able to manage the influx of new enrollment. And he said that he would definitely emphasize focusing on accessibility and access across the board, as well as the need to be affordable, to offer affordable spots and UC spots. So yeah, and then for the task force, threat response recovery task force. This week we had a Vice Chancellor EDI, Anna Spain Bradley, come and discuss EDI's role in threat communications on campus and their role when it comes to threats on campus. We discussed how EDI responds to non-immediate and non-physical threats on campus, like threats that were posted in the Asian Am department during winter quarter. Vice Chancellor Spain Bradley let us know of EDI's capacity and work and how it works more proactively than reactively regarding specific threats that may not be immediate or threatening. We discussed the limitations of EDI regarding community care, and how USAC can work alongside to provide community care moving forward. And yeah, with that, I am done with my officer report. Great. So I think Sarah.
Oh, I can go. I'm still here. But okay, so we're aiming to finish 3 or 4 more student organization highlights before the end of the term, as well as continuing to do our social media campaigns on social justice topics. My outreach team compiled a list of over 1,000 organizations or student organizations contact information that is sorted by different org topics, and that was in conjunction with Soul. And so that should be shared in the leadership lobby that student leaders are in, and it can be shared with you guys. I can send that in Slack. And then we just reserved the Bruin Bear statue area for a de-stressing midterm event on Thursday of week 5. And then I'm meeting with the ECRT team to further discuss how we can work with them on the housing relief award for Bruins facing housing insecurities. And then I'm in the process of reviewing the Campus Safety Alliance bylaws to see if there's any like bylaw changes that can be made before the end of the term. And then this is kind of a question, but Josh, are we supposed to be working on transition binders? Is that something that I have to spearhead for everyone?
Oops, sorry, I was having trouble finding the unmute button. We will need to start working on transition binders, yes. Everybody should be creating a transition letter or binder for your predecessor to discuss what the next steps are and how you got where you are, so folks are aware. Jessica, is there anything else that you would add?
Just that if you are able to make these documents, please share a copy with myself or our SGS team, so that we can have a hard copy just in case as a backup. But yeah, it's a really good idea to create them if you don't have one existing for your office. And then if you do have one existing for your office, like you can feel free to just update what you already have. And I do have copies of a few that we've been sent over the past couple of years. So if you don't currently have one and you want to see if I have something, just email me and I can send you what I have.
Thank you for that, Jessica. I will definitely be emailing you. Cass, did you have anything else? If not, Ange?
I'm so sorry, Breeze. This is Gloria from the Alumni Association. George said we were presenting today on UCLA 1 during special presentations.
Yes,
don't know.
I'm sorry. Yes, sorry.
Is it okay? Should we go now or?
We have to motion it, right, Josh?
Because it wasn't on the original agenda, yes, we do have to motion it.
Okay. Can I get a motion, please, to add UCLA 1's presentation to the agenda?
I move to add the UCLA 1 special presentation to the agenda.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Thomas motions, Emily seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Cass, can you raise your hand? Sorry. I don't know if she's there. Can I still move it? Because we only have 9 hands, Josh.
I think.
Yeah, you would just count Cass as abstention.
Okay, sounds good. So
as long as you have quorum, you can vote.
Okay, for sure. So by a vote of 9 to 1 to 0, then is it that?
9 to 0 to 1. Yeah.
Okay. By a vote of 9 to 0 to 1, the motion passes and the agenda is amended. Okay, thank you so much. So whenever you're ready, feel free to present.
No, thank you so much for even having us. I know it's a long meeting, so we're going to do our best to move as quickly as possible. For those of you, my name is Gloria Ko. I serve as Senior Director for Alumni Career Engagement at UCLA Alumni Affairs. I am cisgender. My pronouns are she, her, hers, identify as Taiwanese American, and my visual description is I have brown hair and a purple shirt. And so I'll let my colleague introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vivian, and I am the Assistant Director of Alumni Career Engagement. I'm also cisgender, and my pronouns are she, her, and I identify as Filipino American. Visual description, I have long black hair and glasses with gold frames.
Great. So I'm just going to share a quick presentation about UCLA 1, which is an online networking platform that is free to students to use to connect to alumni, whether that is to find folks for informational interviews, speakers for your clubs and orgs, or even people to attend your networking events and whatnot. Wanted to share this resource for you. I promise I will go as speedy as I can. So I am going to start my presentation. And so for those of you who may not have heard of UCLA 1, UCLA 1 is UCLA's online networking platform. It's a way for alumni and students to seek help from other Bruins. You'll get Bruin-specific support, so people who've gone through UCLA. It is a vetted process, so we make sure everyone who's on the platform is a Bruin. And it's a warm ask, so you're not having to ask in a brand new way. Alumni typically have already said yes to ways they want to help. And so UCLA 1 is a great tool for you as a singular person for your journey, professional journey, or as leaders looking to bring alumni onto campus for your events. And you can also connect to anyone from anywhere. So if you are planning to study abroad, or you're staying at home, or even just staying somewhere else other than Los Angeles,
You can reach out to alumni in different areas as well and connect with them. And the only thing you have to do is just put in an ask and someone is available to help you. There's a directory search. You can actually search by a lot of different ways, from ways that they want to help to the UCLA communities. And I'm going to, when I do the demo, just be quick, I'll show you that you can actually search by clubs and orgs as well. That's a new function that you can actually search by the clubs and orgs they participated in. We've asked alumni ways that they can help. Their first 3 ways of sharing information, giving advice, and connecting people is a little bit more broad, but other ways that they've said that they can help is they can serve as a guest speaker or panelist. They can facilitate a mock interview for you. They're available for informational interviews. They can review your cover letter or resume. They're willing to participate in a networking event. And then the last one is they can offer job shadowing or skills building opportunities. So if you're looking for ways to really get your hands in and learn, about a certain job, some of our alumni are willing to offer specific opportunities for students. And again, we have a lot of volunteers that are willing to help in this way. Some of you may be saying, hey, I really want to know if my resume is any good. And so how do I do that? You can actually reach out to any of our alumni that are willing to review cover letters and resumes, and they're willing to work with you. And also even conducting mock interviews. If let's say you're getting ready for internship season or job season, they're willing to be there too to help you refine your interview skills. You don't have to wait for an event to do that. You can actually just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm in the mood to practice. Are you willing to practice with me? And so again, this is to have alumni there when you need it, and not just during specific, events or things like that, that you could be able to reach out to them. For some examples of job shadowing and skills building, I just shared a couple of ways alumni have said they're willing to help, whether it's learning how to write television scripts or even doing a shadow of a political consultant and field coordinator, someone who works at Kaiser Permanente, or even focusing on a master's in nursing degree. This is something too that these are ways that alumni have shared that they're willing to help you. And I've just shared a couple of templates here. I'll send along these slides to Bree so that all of you can utilize them. But again, we actually have templated messages in the system, so you don't have to write something from scratch. But again, these are templates that students can use to just quickly introduce themselves and then ask for the help that they're looking for. And also UCLA One is a way for all students to request an alumni mentor. We have over 1,000 alumni who are willing to be mentors, and oftentimes they take more than one, because we have way more students than that number, but we have a lot of alumni who are willing to help in a variety of different industries, identities, and communities as well. And also one thing that we wanted to share with these leaders here at USAC is that I know many of you are often wondering, how do we find guest speakers? How do we find alumni that may have, represent our communities or industries that we're interested in? You can actually find guest speakers on UCLA One. You can search in the directory for people that are willing to be guest speakers. We have over 600 alumni who are saying, hey, reach out to me. I'm happy to be a speaker in your organization. And we think this is a great tool for you to use, especially if you're wondering, hey, we're doing a Zoom event. Can we ask, alumni in New York to share what it's like to be there in the finance industry or in the arts industry? You can definitely reach out to alumni so that they can help you in this way. And then also some of you on your orgs may have networking events, right? You have alumni who come either to campus or on your Zoom meetings, and they're willing to do roundtables or breakout rooms and things like that. This is slightly different than being a guest speaker in the sense that they're willing to do a little more, right, than just speaking into the room, but they're willing to do a little bit more breakouts, have some more small group time. We have over 2,000 alumni that are willing to help in this way as well. So, and also we have a job board on UCLA One. This is different than Handshake in the sense that Handshake is a platform that actually is connected globally, and so a lot of organizations kind of click on a lot of different schools, and it goes to all of us, which is fantastic. We have some alumni who actually have some more, more exclusive opportunities for just students. And so they can't necessarily post on Handshake, so they'll post on UCLA One. So we wanted to tell you that, so that if you are, searching for jobs or internships, please go on Handshake. but then also check out and make sure you look through UCLA One to make sure you're getting all the possible opportunities. So this is one of the examples. Sarah, she actually just posted on our feed and said, hey, we're looking to hire some entry-level people and she wanted to hire a Bruin. So she's putting it out into the community. So just wanted to say again, to share with all of your other students, your friends, or your members that, hey, UCLA One is a tool that we can use as well. And it can be part of your search or your process as you're looking for different opportunities. And then we also have groups as well. If you yourself are like, hey, I want my student group to have a group and have alumni be able to join and have this be a network or a place that alumni and students can connect, feel free to reach out to us. Vivian is actually overseeing our platform, and so she can work with you to create a group that will really suit your needs. And so we often have like the Bruin Linguist Society here, it's a student group, but they want to connect with alumni. And so they can invite alumni into this space and they can, again, share jobs, share opportunities and things like that that are open to them. And so now I'm just going to do a quick demo so that you don't have to leave here without kind of taking a look at what it looks like. And actually, I'm going to actually stop my share real quick. And here we go. So again, if you register for UCLA One, we actually do, unless we can automatically attach your name to your email and your grad year, that's usually we can triangulate you and find you and automatically approve you. But if we can't, like let's say you don't have the name, that you're using a different name that is not what's on your UCLA record, again, we just need to change it on our side so that again, you can you have access into the platform and it works with your records. This is the platform here. And again, things to take a look at, the feed here is where people will post different opportunities, again, jobs and different, again, opportunities to take a look at, whether they're jobs, internships, or even just connections. Sometimes you have alumni that are just like, hey, I'm happy to help. If you're interested in this industry, they'll post it there. Let's say you're a student organization leader and you want to find a speaker for your clubs and orgs. Let's say you are interested to look for a speaker. You click on Get Involved here under Offering to Help, and you are looking for someone that is willing to serve as a guest speaker or panelist. And so let's say you are looking for someone maybe that is in business. You can find people here who've said that they're willing to be speakers, okay? So let's say King here, I'm interested in talking to King, and I really like what I see here, ways that he is, his career, it looks like he's a transfer student, AAP, he's out in Boston. I'd love for him to be part of a panel for my student org. I can request help here, choose the type of help that I want to ask him, so serve as a guest speaker. And then we actually kind of pre-populate the message for you. So it makes it as easy for you if you want to put your club org name, introduce yourself a little bit. But even if you just wanted to leave it at that, you can press send and then he'll get the message and you'll be able to send that information out. And so you can do this for multiple people. There is no limit. I know sometimes LinkedIn has certain requirements before you can send different mail to people, but you can actually send all these messages and actually message them directly here and then send them a message as well, okay? And let's say you're looking for a mentor. You can actually click on the Alumni Mentor tab here on the left. And let's say you want to find, you don't want to do any of these other filters here. You can actually, it'll pull up everyone that is a mentor. And I'm going to undo, it actually remembers, I think. Oh, actually good. No, it doesn't. It actually will remember this, the directory keyword thing. So just be sure to undo it if you're looking at different things. And let's say, again, I'm looking at different people and I'm interested in Varun here. I can actually click on request mentorship. And this actually, won't pre-populate it for you as much, but you click on UCLA Mentor Program and you can actually write a message and introduce yourself and ask that if he would be willing to be a mentor for you. And so again, those are just different ways that you could utilize the platform. We wanted to share it with you. We know many of you or your students who may be seniors or even thinking of a summer job or internship. So we wanted to share this tool with you. And also you could use it in tandem with Handshake. Handshake is a great tool, but it doesn't show you who is in your network that are working in these companies. So you could actually find alumni that actually work for different companies. So let's say you click on jobs here. You can actually look at companies in your network. So you have over 429 people who work at UCLA, 100 people who work at Google. You can actually find people who work in these companies and even try to do some informational interviews with them as you are hoping to apply for their companies as well. So use both tools in tandem. It's all there to help you. And again, if you also find that you're using the platform and you don't like it as much, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Vivian. We want this platform to serve our students better. And we are constantly trying to make improvements to it, redoing it, restructuring it. And so again, this tool is free for students and it's also free for our alumni. So even when you graduate, you can use it. And so just wanted to take this time. Thank you for giving us this time to talk to you about it and share a little bit more about it. But again, we are here. If you have any questions, I'll ask Vivian to throw her email into the chat as well. But you can reach out to any of us if you have any questions, or if you're just interested in connecting with the alumni for yourself. Happy to be here to be a resource for all of you as well. So does anyone have any questions? No problem.
Hey, Gloria. Oh, sorry, I just kind of started talking.
Yeah, Emily.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was really informative. I was wondering, like, I'm not sure if you mentioned it yet, but is this platform live or is it launching soon?
It is live, so you can utilize it right now. You know, sign up for a profile right now. We'll throw the website on there, ucla1.com. One stands for Opportunity Networking and Experience. And so, you know, again, this is just a tool for you to utilize for you and also for your students and your groups. We did want to make a mention, if you can sign in sooner rather than later, we're going to actually be redoing our portal sign in. So that happens on April 26th. So if you sign in soon, it'll get you in and everything will work. But if you sign in, if you're thinking around the 26th, like, oh, let me sign up then, maybe wait until the 27th, just so that if we have any kinks. But the site is live, it's ready for you to use. All these people are in the system already. So you're welcome to get started.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. And again, our emails are there. If you're thinking about anything, something comes up and you want us to also make a presentation to your team, we're welcome to do that. You need help finding speakers, this tool can be here to help you.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? If not, thank you so much to the both of you. We really appreciate y'all staying here until this time.
No, thank you both. Thank you all of you for all the work that you're doing to serve our UCLA community. So happy to have seen a great presentation and to also just engage with all of you. So have a good night and enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Great, thank you. Okay, and with that, I think Angie was next, right?
Yes. So as for my office, our counseling quarterly event will be taking place next week on April 26th from 3 to 4 p.m. And that's just for any students who want to stop by to ask any questions about course degree planning and major requirements. My Campus of Care committee will be carrying out our Your Smart campaign during week 5. And we also made a survey for our syllabi shopping experience, which will be released on our social media soon. My Retention First committee is finished with reviewing Books for Bruins apps, and we're currently in the process of awarding allocations and sending out awards. And they're also planning a midterm study social, which will be taking place on next Tuesday, April 26th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And then applications for our food insecurity project closed on Friday, and we're currently in the process of reviewing applications for those. And then our Inside Out committee is working on an event to promote our OccuSpace drop in collaboration with the UCLA Library. So more details on that to come. And then lastly, we just released our transparency report for winter quarter, and that's up on our Instagram. And yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. So with that, I think we'll move straight into admin reports. Patty?
I don't think Patty's here today.
Okay.
Oh, I still wanted to give.
Oh yeah, sorry, Prom.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that CAC is having our hip hop fashion show tomorrow night from 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, 7 to 9, something like that. But it starts at 7. You don't need tickets to go. It is a masked event. Please come out. It's always a great show. We have a performance from Haiti Baby, the rapper. And yeah, it's going to be really fun. It's been a while since fashion shows been in person, but everyone knows fashion shows just somewhere you want to be if you can be. So come dressed to impress. And then next week on the 24th or the 28th. Yeah, next week on the 28th. Sorry, we have our hip hop explosion concert. The artists haven't been announced yet, but look out for that. And yeah, that is ticketed. So look out for our tickets that will be coming out probably later this week. And yeah, I hope to see y'all there.
Thank you so much, Prom. I really am so excited. Great. Okay. Patty?
Patty is not here today.
Okay. I mean, yeah, sorry, Jessica. I mixed it up. I'm so sorry.
Hello. No updates for me, but definitely let me know if you all need any support as you're building out your transition documents. If you want to meet to chat about that, let me know.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jessica. Orlando?
Hello, everyone. Nope, no updates for me today.
And Josh?
And no updates for me.
Okay, great. So I think that we're good for old business. As far as new business, we have a presentation from Palmer. Can we go ahead and promote Palmer?
He is already here, ready to go. Go ahead.
Awesome. Palmer, you have the floor.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I just wanted to go over the calendar with y'all real quick because I had a candidate reach out to me. I guess it's 2 candidates actually. They're both Orthodox Jewish, and they have a problem with voting happening on Saturday. So in the past, the voting has not happened on Saturdays. I know last year we did do it on Saturday, but we also didn't have any Orthodox Jewish candidates running, so that wasn't really an issue. And so what they would like, at least what one of them would like, is to stop voting on Friday, stop voting on Saturday, stop voting on Sunday, and just have voting go from Monday to Friday. So that's cutting out 3 of the 8 days of voting. I personally don't think that's a very good idea in terms of voter turnout. And instead, what we had proposed was just kind of like a campaign ceasefire that would happen during Saturday, starting at 7 p.m. on Friday, going till 8 p.m. on Saturday. And both these candidates are Gen Rep candidates, so we would just have all the Gen Rep candidates agree to this. And I reached out to this candidate about that, and he said he doesn't trust the other candidates to not campaign during this. So we're just going to have them, this is my solution right now. And I just kind of wanted to get y'all behind it because I don't think cutting out 3 days of our 8 days of voting is going to be beneficial towards voter turnout. It's not going to be beneficial towards getting the numbers to pass a referenda if that's something that people are interested in. And it's not going to be beneficial in terms of accessibility in case anyone for some reason can't vote during the weekdays. They have some sort of responsibility that takes up their time during the weekdays and they need the weekends to vote. So that's kind of just my opinions. I think changing the election for 2 candidates is going to be a little bit contentious just in general. I do understand where they're coming from, but and so I was like just kind of torn on this. And if I do end up changing it, I need to run it by y'all first. So that's why I wanted to just talk about this here. So we can discuss that in a sec. And then the other thing is just the debates moving from this 28th to the 26th. So now the debates are happening 26th and 27th, and the endorsement hearing is online. So yeah, that was just because we didn't want to pay to rent Kirkov, and the Deneb Auditorium has more space. So yeah, I just don't know if y'all had any opinions about changing voting. You think that we should change that? The other thing is we've already spent a lot of resources to advertise that voting is going to be these days. We've already spent money on signs and posters and flyers and banners to say voting is going to be happening on these days. So we would need to reorder all of that, which is going to cost money. So I just kind of wanted y'all's opinion, because what I would like to do is just tell this candidate that this is our stance, and I kind of wanted USAC behind me, so it's not just like I'm being the bad guy here, because I know that y'all would have to approve it anyways if I did or not approve it, but I would have to run it by y'all if I did change it. So I don't know if you have any opinions on this, or like how should I approach this?
Okay, does anyone have any comments or questions from what Palmer just said? Oh, Prom has her hand raised.
Yeah, I get the perspective, but I guess like because you also mentioned like the potential to have like those candidates not like some like the people in that same race not campaigning during the weekend. And I guess my issue is like it's been open to campaign for over a week now, and people have been able to campaign on the weekends. So I don't necessarily know if like changing that mid-election is going to be equitable. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. And I don't necessarily know how to reconcile like not campaigning, because like I don't know, like people don't necessarily campaign every single day either. So kind of like cutting that off for the days that like some people quite literally might only have that time to do it, I don't necessarily think is equitable for everyone.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Especially because if I'm bringing up the point about people not being able to vote maybe only on those days, then yeah, campaigning could be the same kind of thing there. So again, with the campaigning ceasefire agreement thing, it would just be people would have to agree, like the other candidates would have to agree to it. So it's kind of like obviously if they were like, I don't want to do that and I want to campaign on those days, we can't like really force them to do that. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that, is like it would be an agreement. So that kind of handles that aspect of it, I think. And also this is for the general representative race. So this is 5 candidates are running in that.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Are there any like other comments? I don't know like how council would feel. Like I think like it's either like we can like voice our support for Palmer, or can I get a feel for the room, please?
I think just like +1 what Promise said.
Okay. So then we're good to go?
Yeah, I think Emily has something also.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna like add on. I think like what Promise was saying makes sense in that like this whole like I guess month of campaigning has been open to campaign like whenever like within this month. So it's kind of, like in my view, it's up to candidates to decide like how and when, like exactly when they choose to like spend time campaigning and when not to. But like I'd also don't want to like speak for like someone else's like religious like practices. So like if I don't know, if the general representatives wanted to decide amongst themselves to do a ceasefire, I think then that's up to them. So that's like my take on it.
Yeah, I I kind of agree with Emily on that end as well, but I want to like hear other perspectives just so we can make sure. Can we maybe reach a consensus like between folks? It's a quiet room tonight. Okay, pass it.
Yeah, I think that, it's really nice when people agree on things, like especially the folks who are competing and campaigning, right? So like if the folks in the gen rep race agree to a ceasefire amongst themselves, like, all the power to them. So long as, when you agree to terms, you follow those terms, right? As for like the voting thing, my concern is that I think, we voted in this election calendar as a council like a couple months ago. It's been on the internet. People have, thought about it and taken it into account. So changing it so abruptly, could really derail a lot of folks' plans. The second thing is like promise, like said, accessibility, right? Like some people, in the or some people like might only have that weekend and the Friday to vote. Like, some people like work certain schedules. And I always thought that like having the weekend is really important to make sure that everyone gets their voice heard. But that's just my 2 cents.
Jane, sorry.
Yeah. Right. I just wanted to confirm, is the question like right now, Palmer, you're gonna ask the gen reps what they're all okay with, and then you're looking for like our guidance given that if they don't all agree, or
Well, my question, I just kind of wanted to get y'all's thoughts on this. And because like if possibly y'all were like, oh yeah, go ahead, let's change it right now, then we would just do that right now. But I just wanted to kind of let you know what the issue is. The other thing is that like I've told this candidate about like he can just take this to the judicial board if he doesn't like my decision on it, and then kind of let them have the final say. And so if the judicial board is like, yeah, that's not fair, that's not equitable, you can't do that, then we would just have to kind of change it. But I don't know what their stance is going to be. I think I have a pretty good argument, and I think I have like a solution that doesn't mean the calendar needs to change. So I just kind of wanted to keep y'all informed in terms of like the things that I am discussing right now and the potential of the election calendar. And then if you all had my support, or if you all supported what I was doing, I think that would just kind of help things moving forward. Because if we aren't united on the same path here, then it's just going to make things harder if it does go to the judicial board. And if we all are on kind of having the same mentality here, then it's like me and the people that appointed me are within the same mindset going forward, and this is our plan. I didn't want it to be like this is Palmer's tirade here and he's just doing this without consulting anyone.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I was gonna pass it off to you.
Thank you. I was just gonna say, like, I definitely like I feel like I'm definitely agreeing with you, Palmer. I think like my biggest thing is like equitable, like it being equitable for everyone, like because some students might not be able to campaign during the week, and like it's only the weekend that they can campaign, and it's just like especially like that like when that's voting, and like if that's the main time that they can dedicate to it, they should be allowed to campaign during that time and not like limited, especially since these students who can't necessarily campaign on the weekend due to religious reasons are able to campaign during the 5 days during the week usually. So it's like there's more opportunities still. So I don't necessarily think limiting opportunity for other students, like, because I feel like it's just gonna end up making it inequitable for other students who are then going to have to be asking for accommodations, and it's just going to be a lot, when in reality it's like the situation kind of already resolves itself with the entire week during the week. And in the weekend, I get like feeling like your opponents might have the upper hand because they're able to campaign during the weekend. But again, not everyone campaigns every single day, and they can campaign during the week and potentially have other staffers help them post if anything. So there is other things that can be done.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree.
Jane?
Yeah, I just wanted to express support for your plan, Palmer. Like, I think if that's something the general candidates agree to internally, then that's fine. But like, I feel like it shouldn't be really your like they like if anything there's disagreement, they should just like go to J board. I feel like we would support you at like J board if we were asked to.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay. So with that, then did you need anything else from us, Palmer, or are we good?
Nope, I feel good. Just wanted to keep you all updated on the debate change and then this going on, but that's everything I had. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Palmer. Great. Jenny, you have the floor for the bylaw change.
Hi guys, thank you for staying so long today. This is like a really, really, really simple change. It was just the here, let me drop the guidelines here. This is a Google Doc. I highlighted the part that we're changing. Actually, would I be able? Oh, I can share screen. Perfect. So literally all I'm changing is I'm updating this link. It's the approved licensed vendor link for t-shirts. It was an ASUCLA website before, but then they changed the website. There was a whole mismatch thing, and then now I have to update the link. And I'm pretty sure I just have to let you guys know anytime I touch anything on the guidelines. But yes, everything else is exactly the same. It's just the link because I've gotten a lot of emails about students being confused. Yeah, let me know if you have questions.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions? If not, can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the FICOM updated guidelines.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Promotions. Emily seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. And by a vote of 10 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the bylaw change is approved. Thank you so much, Jenny. Great. And I see nothing else on the agenda, so I close this meeting at 8:44 p.m.